Welcome to the Work Well, Live Well podcast. I'm Leanne Camilleri and I'm passionate about helping people to flourish personally and professionally. Drawing on the foundations of positive psychology and well-being, I hope that what I share is of value to you. My mission is to help people to work well and live well. So let's get started. Jane, thank you so much for joining me and agreeing to do this interview with me. You are, for me, in the field that I study of positive psychology, you are one of the pioneers and one of the first people I learned about. So I feel very honoured to have this interview with you now. So thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Jane, would you be able to share with the group what it is that you do and perhaps expand a little bit more about your involvement with the University of Michigan?
Okay. Well, I am a professor of management and organizations in a business school at the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan. I'm actually in a semi-retired state, but for 40 years I've been a faculty member, and for the last 15 maybe actually more than that, 20 plus years, I've been involved in trying to shift the perspective in my field and in the field of organization behavior to take more seriously the question of how do we foster human flourishing at work. So as a professor, I do research around the kinds of topics that Leanne mentioned, but I'm also a teacher, and I think especially in my current state, and the reason I'm semi-retired is I actually want to continue with the teaching, because my experience is that just this generation of students, business students, but also, I teach students from all over the university, are so hungry for ways of understanding and thinking about how to unlock human goodness and resourcefulness in workplaces. And so I'm one of the co-founders of the Center for Positive Organizations at the University of Michigan. And we also have a consortium of companies or people in different kinds of business organizations who have a learning community around trying to foster, how we can spread and learn from each other kind of in this space. So I mentioned to Lee, I think of myself as a midwife, as one of the midwives or mid-husbands who's helping to bring to life and help to spread and grow this very hopeful perspective on what's possible.
How does what you do impact on the well-being of others?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing I do is about teaching.
Yes.
And helping students of all kinds. And again, I teach from 18-year-olds to 75-year-olds. So I'm in the full spectrum of undergraduate to people who are coming back to school later in their lives. I think I help to give them a way of seeing how through small actions they can affect their own well-being. Yes. And also affect the well-being of others. I think what's important to point out is in the field of positive, I'm in a field that's connected. It's like a sister field to positive psychology called positive organizational scholarship. Mm-hmm. And the reason, the funny name is really to help us think about how to scale and do positive psychology in a more sustainable, scalable way, and which means really taking seriously, in some sense, positive sociology, or like how do you build structures and processes and capacities in human groups, in large-scale human groups, that would make flourishing sustainable over time. Mm-hmm. So what I would contribute to well-being that might be different from maybe some of the key people you've heard of in positive psychology is trying to take organizations seriously,
Yes.
trying to take like the way an organization onboards people and selects people and rewards people and all these things that are part of workplaces, how we can redirect them so that they create conditions for human flourishing in a more sustained way. And I'll just say that I think when I'm teaching this stuff, which when I'm teaching it outward, I'm also trying to remind myself inward about this. You know,
you talk about in your book, Awakening Compassion at Work, there's always pain in the room.
right.
Would you be able to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, that actually is a phrase from one of my colleagues who I worked on the compassion work for many years, Peter Frost. He would always say there's always pain in the room, and that is for me such a reminder, as well as other researchers who I see studying compassion in workplaces, that suffering is all around us. I mean, human suffering is such, a pervasive and quote unquote normal condition for human individuals and human groups. And so what I love about the compassion work, and that I think is so important, is that it writes back in human suffering and pain, and then couples it with possibilities for helping people with that suffering and pain in ways that are located in individuals, but also located in, again, how we could design human systems so that this natural capacity for compassion is actually unleashed as opposed to repressed.
When we're experiencing a tough day, or we're on the receiving end of someone's frustration, as you say, there's always pain in the room, and that really hit a chord with me, because it was like an aha moment. Yes, I don't know what the next person is going through. We don't know the whole picture. We just see, John or Jess, whoever who comes to work and with a smile on their face, perhaps most days, and we don't see what's going on. And viewing them with a compassionate view is it changes the way we treat them and how they respond. It's like it's a two-way thing, isn't it?
Right. And I think it changes. I mean, we're born to be compassionate.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way our human bodies are actually set up. And I think when we have the opportunity to express that way of being at work, it not just changes the other person or provides capacities or resources for the other person, but it changes us. It reminds us of our own goodness.
Yes.
And you oftentimes don't have, when you're being compassionate, it's often about simple things like just listening or being present and witnessing someone's experience. It doesn't mean we have to solve it.
Yes.
And oftentimes in workplaces, this stuff gets repressed because people feel like, I don't know the right thing to do, when in fact it is partly just about being there for the other person.
Yes.
And so, so I agree with you. It's two-way.
Yes.
And it's really powerful. I mean, doing research on this, like we would hear stories of something that a work colleague did 10 years ago that was something really little in response to someone going through some tough thing in their life, a divorce, an illness, all kinds of things, that probably the person who was doing it had no idea that 10 years later, that was going to be the thing that kept that person at that workplace, or that gave that person hope, that helped them get through another week or something. So I've been really impressed by the staying power of these small acts of compassion in sustaining people for really long periods of time.
Yeah. When you talk about high quality connections, do they melt together?
The compassion piece and high
Yes.
quality connections?
Yes.
Well, so high quality connections is just a way of talking about those small interactions that we have
Yeah.
with people, either in real life or virtually, either face to face, or that strengthen us.
Yes.
That physiologically in our bodies and psychologically strengthen us. And our research suggests that in organizations or in groups where there's more of these high quality connections, that in fact what we call compassion competence is higher. That is, the group's capacity to respond appropriately to pain that arises is higher. And it makes sense. I mean, high quality connections somehow, if you have more of these high quality connections, the social tissue, or I would call the soil of the organization, is healthier. It's more fertile. You know, and from that fertility in the soil, or, you know, healthy social tissue, whatever metaphor you want to use, it has a capacity, like a healthy body, to heal, you know, to where wounds happen.
Yeah.
So there's a definite connection between the level of high quality connections in a group and the group's capacity for compassion.
How can we be more compassionate at work?
Well, part of it, I think, is just helping people remember it's important, you know, that it's not just soft. I mean, that was part of the reason we wrote the book.
Yes.
Was because over the 20 years that we've been doing research on this, again, like, we've been astonished by, kind of like the story I said, like the lasting impact of this. And, you know, I teach in a business school, so people are always interested in what's the bottom line. And I think we have a really important case to make about the significance of the presence, and I would say the competence and compassion in a human group, and that human group's capacity to perform, to be resilient, to be a growing space, a learning space over time. So part of the way we foster compassion is having a story to tell about why it matters.
Yes.
And not have it be something really soft. I mean, it is soft in the sense of it's deeply relational.
Yes.
But it's really hard in terms of its consequence. It's really significant at multiple levels, at the level of the organization, at the level of the group, and at the level of the individual. So that's one point. A second point, I'll just go back to what you already said. I think remembering there's always pain in the room, that compassion is an antidote or a response to human suffering, and that if we act like workplaces don't have suffering, you know, that is an illusion.
Yes.
And so part of it is remembering that there's suffering, and remembering that that we are born to do this, and that if in some ways, if we just let our natural intuition sort of respond, that can oftentimes be enough.
Yeah.
And then the third thing I'll mention, this is just something to think about. This is really something that comes up a lot in my teaching, is because these students are thinking about places to go work.
Yes.
And I try really to tune them into what are the indicators you would use to know that a place has got good soil, you know, where you're going to grow, where you're going to flourish, and where there's going to be compassion, and there's going to be nutrients, and there's going to be, you know, and it's not about your salary.
Yes.
I mean, it's about so much more. And I feel like one of the things that's really useful is to think there are systematic indicators that a place is likely to be healthier in that fostering in a sustained way well-being, and to pay seriously to that.
Yes.
Pay serious attention to that.
And again, thank you so much for making some time to chat to me this morning.
Oh, thank you so much for asking me. I was thrilled.
Thank you for joining me today. I love how dedicated and insightful Jane is to human flourishing at work, teaching and helping students to see how through small actions they can affect their own well-being and the well-being of others. How we treat others at work really does have a bigger impact than sometimes we may ever know. To find out more about Jane's work, you can visit the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan. And their website address is Michigan Ross, that's all one word, michiganross.umich, that's umich.edu. And you can find the books Awakening Compassion at Work and How to Be a Positive Leader on Booktopia and other bookstores and in other bookstores. Before I leave you today, I'd like you to consider this. How rich is the soil in your workplace? And what nutrients are helping you and the organisation to grow? If you have found this podcast of value, please share it with someone you care about. Subscribe to my podcast and rate it for iTunes. My mission is to help people to work well and live well. Bye for now.